Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Inga Cotton, and I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms. And these are Charter Moms Chats, and we're going live to share information with families about what they need to know to keep their kids learning and happy and busy during the pandemic. And I'm so grateful that today we published a guest post on the blog written by Katie Mallette, who is a visual arts teacher at Democracy Prep at the Stewart Campus, which is a partnership school between San Antonio ISD and Democracy Prep, and it's located just southeast of downtown. So thank you for joining us, Katie. And then we also have the principal of Democracy Prep, Virginia Silva, and she is a repeat guest on Charter Moms Chats. So she joined us earlier to talk about all the great things happening at Democracy Prep at the Stewart Campus and what's school culture and how to enroll and stuff like that. So welcome back, Virginia, and welcome, Katie.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so I'm going to full screen Katie. No, not me. I'm going to full screen Katie. There we go. Okay, because she is the art expert.
Push and you guys out over there. There you go.
That's right. That's right. So, but the guest post. Okay, so February is Black History Month, but all year is a good time to learn about the history of all Americans. But Jean-Michel Basquiat is the artist that you featured in your blog post, and this is something that you teach to the students at Democracy Prep, but it's something that families can do with their kids at home. And Black History Month is just a great excuse to include these activities. So, and it's going to be rainy this weekend, so it's a perfect time to stay inside and do an art project.
No, I mean, I think that, it's hard to find things to keep minds going, and, you want to excite kids and get them excited about art. And, the more you can explore art, the more you get those creative juices flowing to do all the things like math and science and, that kind of thing.
That's right. And it's important to educate the whole child and keep kids engaged with school. So it's not just math and science and literature all the time. So, okay. So I'm going to dive into my questions. Okay. So, let me pop this up on screen. So in case anyone's wanting to Google this and look up Jean-Michel Basquiat. So in case, some of the readers might not have heard of him before. So I was wondering if you could just fill in a little bit of background about who he was, what was the significance of his art, sort of what style and what era did he work in?
Absolutely. I think Jean-Michel Basquiat was an American artist, and he was born in 1960, and he was a neo-expressionist. So, which neo-expressionist, fancy terms, basically means that he was a new artist, and it was art expressionist is really about your feelings. So an artist who really expresses a lot of feelings in their artwork, not just drawing pretty flowers. Not that flowers are wrong. I love a good flower. And he grew up in New York, and he started off by selling postcards to people. He, hand-painted postcards and sold them. He did a lot of street art, and, just over time became extremely well-known. He hung out with people like Madonna. Madonna was his girlfriend. We could all be so lucky. And then Andy Warhol, he was a really good friends with Warhol. And, he only lived to be 27, and yet he's still known as really one of America's great artists. And I think probably in his lifetime, he made, something like 600 paintings, which, that's a lot of art for someone who only lived to be 27. And I think his biggest accomplishment is he just sold a few years ago a piece of art for $110 million at auction. And that is the highest for any American artist. So living or dead, black or white. And so that's a really big accomplishment. It's not a Monet, it's not a Picasso, but, having a Basquiat is apparently pretty impressive. 110.5 million. Let me get the 0.5. That's very important. I would take the 0.5. So.
Yeah, well, that is a great summary. I mean, that's definitely. Oh, sorry, my doorbell. Life keeps going on.
Yeah.
With like his work is, like you said, it's so expressive. There's so much feeling in it, and it's so that makes it something that that students can access, like in an art class. And that's one of the great things about how you wrote the post, is that you talk about like how to tailor it towards younger kids and how to tailor it towards bigger kids. But like the way you describe the project is it's about portraiture, right? Because like Basquiat, like he used a lot of images from anatomy and things like skeletons and skulls and heads and faces and stuff. So when you're teaching kids about a project that involves portraiture, what do you hope that they take away from it?
Well, I think that, drawing a portrait is probably one of the hardest and yet simplest things to do. People usually imagine, well, everything has to look exactly perfect. But if you get 2 dots and a smiley line, everyone knows what that is. And it's one of the few things that everybody is going to have with them. I don't often have a bowl full of fruit to draw, or, a basket of sunflowers, or a beautiful mountain range to draw. But I always have this. And, that is something that kids can practice. And, you learn what you look like, you learn your expressions. You can look different when you first wake up than when you go to bed. And, drawing a portrait, whether it's a self-portrait or a portrait of somebody else, really you express them, how they feel, how they look, their emotions. And I think it's really a good place to start for kids. That's one of the first things that kids recognize is a face. So, what better way than to get them drawing their face, or get them drawing a face, even if it's not theirs. Kids usually don't want to draw their face. They usually want to draw. They're good with, I want to draw some total stranger, but they don't want to draw themselves. But, I think it's a good way to learn about art and learn about expressing yourself.
Yeah, that's really key. Yeah, young kids from young ages, they draw smiley faces or they draw sad faces, and they're aware, and having the face be a way to express feelings in art. I think it's important to connect that up. Faces are a really good way to do that. So okay, so I wanted to mention what we touched on earlier about how the project is tailored, or like a family can pick up these instructions within the blog post and think about, okay, I have younger kids, and so this is how I want to do the project, or I have bigger kids, this is how I'm going to challenge them more with the project and see if they'll run with it. So I was wondering if you could talk about like a good way to introduce young kids to the art of Jean-Michel Basquiat, and then talk about like for big kids.
Well, I think depending on what you consider a young kid. I have like what I call adults. So they're all much older. But I think if you have, kids that are 5 and younger, who really, I will say, struggle with drawing. And, they might enjoy getting to just use the pieces. So I might have an adult or an older child draw the pieces and have the younger kids practice cutting, because scissor skills, that's, so important. Please don't send your child to kindergarten not knowing what these are. So I think it's important to, learn how to, to cut. They could draw over your lines. So learning how to hold a crayon, how to hold a pencil, using those skills. So, and they could, piece those pieces together. So that's how a younger student could do it. Now, if they're older, they absolutely, I have like a little instruction sheet that just has some suggested ways that you could come up with all the different parts of a face. And, they can, draw as many different faces as they want. I think the more you draw, the better you get at it. It's like anything else, you get better with practice. I mean, some people get a lot better and some people get a little bit better, but even a little bit better is better.
Well, I think that's you made some really good points there about, and this ties back to, like why art is important as part of like the whole curriculum, is that, especially for young children, that like art is building the strength of their hands and the dexterity of their hands, and like how they hold a crayon helps them hold a pencil or a pen someday, and how they hold scissors, like it just makes their hands stronger and more aware of where they are in space. And but they don't think of it as like, oh, I'm practicing my grip. They think of it as like, I want this apple to be red, or right?
Yeah. And it's a good way to have fun. I mean, I really want kids to enjoy art and love it. Not everyone can love it as much as me, but that's okay. So, but I think that getting kids to explore and get excited, especially when they're younger, then they feel a lot more confident in their abilities. Because I think that that's important. Usually around second grade, by the end of second grade, kids start to do this sort of looking around at what everybody else is doing. And, before that, they're just happy to make something. But, really by third grade, you start noticing who the kid draws and, they're doing a better job than me and I can't do it like that. And, even as an art teacher, I meet adults and the first thing they say when I say I'm an art teacher is, I can't draw. And, I wouldn't say that, if I met someone and they were a doctor, I wouldn't say, I can't I can't set broken legs. Well, I'm not expecting you to. I mean, it's okay. So, but I think people really sort of don't have that confidence in their abilities. And, I want people to have confidence that maybe you're not going to be, the next Basquiat, but that doesn't mean you can't be somebody else just as awesome.
Right. And like you said, it's something that like everyone can get at least a little bit better. Some people can get a lot better, but everyone can get a little bit better. But it's something you can play with and keep practicing and like just get in touch with your creative side. So, and that, like you said, that's true for like adults and, big kids, like people who are kids on the inside, maybe like me. Yeah. Yeah. So, and that I want to mention, like in the description of the video, there's a link to the blog post, and in the blog post, there's that template that you referred to that's got like, your examples of like the heads, the eyes, the noses, the mouths, ears, like, that folks can use as a template to help the kids, like, cut and arrange and build faces that way. Right.
Well, and I try to, give them someplace to start from, because a lot of people don't know where to start. You're like, I don't know, what do I do? And, some people can just do it. If you say draw an apple, they just draw an apple. And some people are like, I have no clue. So, you may have a child that, can just do it and can just see it and do it. And then other people need a little bit of help. So I think you want to give everybody some place to start from. And if they don't need that help, great, then they can just go on their way. But, kids who, you want everyone to feel successful. So you want to give them as many tools as they can so they do feel successful.
Yeah. And that's what makes it such a great project. And we've tried in like the overall set of these activities, right? So we have a landing page on our website. It's called Charter a Voyage of Learning, and where we've grouped together these at-home learning activities. And the idea is that, like maybe you're seeing stuff on social media, like, oh, here's this museum tour, or like, here's this science project, and it feels kind of overwhelming. And that's why like this project is so great, is that, there's these on-ramps, and it makes it not as intimidating. Because like as parents, we're kind of overwhelmed. I mean, I'm trying to figure out where to buy milk because like the storms last week were so crazy. And, so it's like, there's so many day-to-day things that are more complicated these days that but we still want our kids to keep learning. We still want to have fun, and we still want to like discover new things. And so that's why I'm really grateful that you're sharing your knowledge as a teacher, with what families can do at home. And I also hope it gives people insight into, democracy prep and what the culture is like at the school, right? And that like Black artists and Black History Month is something that you all want to celebrate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, it's sad that we have to, give everybody their own month, because, we're all here. I'm not going away in March. So March is my birthday month. So, March should really be Katie month, I think. But I think that it's important to celebrate and to acknowledge people so that everybody gets that enjoyment, and that they see people who look like them, because for a lot of people need that. You have to see someone who looks like you to imagine that you could do that. If you don't see that someone could be a vice president, you might not think you could be vice president. So I think that those kinds of representations are important, and you don't want to make anybody feel left out, like you don't matter, and so you want to give everybody that sort of joy and uplifting.
Yeah, and Basquiat, his parents were immigrants, And I think that that's an important message too, is that, right, America is a welcoming place and people can come and do amazing things like create the most expensive piece of artwork in North America.
Yes, it should be a welcoming place. I mean, we have plenty of space. Come on over. So, you can't come and stay in my house because I have too many kids, but there's plenty of room for everybody. So, Texas is a big place. There's lots of room. So we're good.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things I really enjoyed about the post was that you included 3 short videos that talked about Basquiat's life and his background, his career, that showed examples of like his most famous artwork and like examples of his like street art and so tell me about, like, especially for older kids, like how would you use the videos as part of like a learning activity to like help kids learn more about Jean-Michel Basquiat?
Well, I think it's a good way to really see who he is as a person. A lot of times, especially with artists who are older than me, old. So, if you're, a great artist from, like we learn about Van Gogh and, there are no videos of Van Gogh. They can't actually see, Van Gogh walking around. He, to them, he's, an old dead guy. And so I think this helps them to see someone who's, a little more relevant, a little closer to their age, closer to my age, but, closer to, somebody that they can relate to, that they can understand, and they can really see his artwork and how it affected people around him. So, and it's good because he made so much art and it's very accessible, I call it kid-friendly art. So it's not, the Mona Lisa and go try to draw it. It's, it's very sketchy, very open, a lot of, rough lines. So, it's something that honestly you could have your 5-year-old do, and it's going to be just as awesome.
Yeah. That's one of the things I love about in the blog post. You shared with us pictures of works that Democracy Prep students had created. So there's a notebook page that's full of these like doodles, and it's just this explosion of creativity on the page. And then there's pictures where like they drew in like a dark color, and then they kind of doubled the lines in the bright colors, and it vibrates like like a Basquiat painting that has these layers of color.
Well, and that's really, I think, one of the things you want to learn is, when you're doing somebody else's art. So, you're not Basquiat, but, the more you learn about how somebody else does art, the more you learn about how you can do art. So I like to think of art as like food. So, all of the supplies you use, like colored pencils or crayons or watercolors, those are like the ingredients. And you have to know what the ingredients do. So, if you said bake a cake, I'd be like, well, do I use, what stuff do I use? You have to know how those things work together. And then, the artists are like recipes, because all those artists have already created amazing pieces of art. And if you look at their stuff, you can see how they did what they did. So once you learn all of the, ingredients, and then once you learn all the recipes, then you can start to do your own thing. So if you don't know what, whether I should use acrylic paint or oil paint, there's a big difference. And one, it's kind of a tragic difference. So you don't want, there are things you don't want to do and things you do want to do. And, the more you learn, then the easier it is for you to be able to express yourself in your own way. What do you love? What is exciting? What makes you happy? What makes you sad? And I think that until you learn what everybody else has already done, there's no way for you to do your own thing.
Yeah, that's a great way to explain it, right? So, okay, so the art materials are like the ingredients, and then the styles and the techniques that other artists have used are the recipes. So you first learn by practicing those recipes the way other artists did it, and then you start to freestyle, and then it's like it's Iron Chef. You've got your own ingredients.
If you don't know how to bake a cake and someone said bake a cake, you have to learn all those separate steps to be able to, be really creative. I do not know how to bake a cake, so I would need to learn all those things, but I am pretty good at art. So But I think it's just learning. The more you learn, the easier it is to do something. I'm the person who's in, Michael's giving advice when they're like, "Oh, what kind of paint should I use?" And I was like, "Well, let me tell you." So I the more the easier it is to be creative. And, creativity is good everywhere. I mean, creativity is good in writing. Creativity is good in science. So, I think it's important to encourage people to be creative, no matter who they are or what they want to do.
Yeah, I think the creativity gives access to the authenticity, and I think that's what's part of what's so appealing about Basquiat's art is that it feels like it came from his heart and was very expressive and was very grounded in his environment in New York City and the art scene, and yeah. Well, so I love your stories about like like when you have students and like the older they get and they start like looking at other students and they're really insecure, but but you're trying to help them be as creative as possible. And then I'm picturing you in the art store like explaining to people, but so I can tell like you love art and you love being an art teacher. So tell us more about like what you love about being an art teacher, especially at Democracy Prep at the Stewart Campus, and just what you love about being an art teacher.
Well, I will say that being an art teacher is probably what I was meant to do. It's one of those like, where the light shines down and you're like, this is what I was supposed to be doing. But I think because, it gives me the ability to give something to kids that they might not get otherwise. My kids went to school in San Antonio, and, in elementary school, they did not have art teachers. In middle school, they chose not to take art as their elective. And in high school, I had two that took band. Band is not art. I mean, it is a kind of art, but it's not this kind of art. And, I had one who did cheerleading, not art. So, I mean, it is an art, but it is not this art. So I think that, if you don't give children this type of education, an arts education in some kind of way when they're younger, you can opt out the older you get and you never have any base to work from. And I think that Democracy Prep knows how important an arts education is, and that, knowing you can't know everything about the arts, but knowing about the arts, we have a great theater teacher, and she is absolutely wonderful. And I think that, getting some sort of arts education and knowing how important it is to Democracy Prep at Stewart and Democracy Prep as an organization, they value it probably more than I've seen any school that I've worked at before, how they value it. And they value me as an employee, which is wonderful. And, they trust me to do things. So, but I think that, they know that it is important that kids get the best education, and the best kids are kids who are well-rounded, not just, it's awesome to know everything about math and science and literature, but, you want them to know things that maybe everybody else doesn't know. And that gives you a little step up in life.
Yeah. One of the great things about the blog post is that like it sheds light on, what Democracy Prep is about. And, a big part of it is, it's like the democracy part of Democracy Prep is about like civics and, being a citizen. And I think being a well-rounded person who appreciates the arts contributes to being a good citizen, because it means that like when you're out in society, you're going to place a value on arts, whether it's like having performing arts organizations or like being a patron of the arts, and like just appreciating that in your life, and like not like reaching adulthood having like opted out of it at every step and then just saying, oh, I don't draw. It's like, sure, you could draw.
Well, and I think that it's important because not everybody can be president. That doesn't mean you shouldn't want to be president, but not everybody can be. They only pick one. So, but even though only one person can be president, somebody has to design those posters. Somebody has to, design the suit or, the dress that they're going to wear. And, somebody has to paint their portrait when they get elected. So, there's a whole lot of arts that maybe you're not going to be president, but that doesn't mean you can't still be amazing and, maybe sell something for $110.5 million.
Goals. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. And how awesome that it was a Black American who did that. Like,
yeah. I think that just, honestly, I think most people haven't heard of it. But I mean, it really is. It's very amazing. And most people imagine that art is really tiny. So if you've ever seen the Mona Lisa, the Mona Lisa is like this big. I mean, it's pretty small. And most Basquiat's artwork is huge, like huge. So I think most people kind of imagine, painting little teeny tiny paintings, and he painted huge. I mean, it was probably worth $110 million. So it was that big.
Okay, so I want to bring Virginia Silva back into. Oh wait, I'm supposed to be on the left. Okay, there we go. Okay. So what I always try to do, like, I'm so grateful for the guest posts. I'm so grateful for y'all's time and energy, and sharing this stuff. And I hope families have a lot of fun with this activity. But I always try to. It serves a dual purpose, right? So we're talking about an art project. We're talking about Black History Month and a fantastic Black artist, but we're also talking about democracy prep at the Stewart Campus. And I hope this gives people like a window into like what the school culture is like at democracy prep, and what the benefits of enrolling your student at democracy prep could be. And so Virginia's going to chime in and talk about like sort of what families should do if they want to learn more about democracy prep at the Stewart Campus, and how they can enroll, how they can learn more. So take it away, Virginia.
Thank you, Inga. I think you can see we value an arts education and also a comical arts teacher. He brings a zest for color and humor into the classroom on a daily, but it's been really exciting to see our arts program grow, because it was new when we founded a few years ago, and just seeing kids' skills build over time has been super exciting. If you would like to be in Miss Mallette's classroom, which it's a fun place to be, you can enroll via our website. There's a tab that's popping up right now on the screen. There's a tab for Enroll Now, but you can also explore our website and see a little bit more information. We have some upcoming open houses. All the dates are on our website. So we would love for you to attend, love for you to connect with some other teachers, because we have lots of great teachers on our staff, and excited to share more opportunities about other programming at our school.
Yeah. The more I learn about democracy prep, just the more impressed I am. So I want to mention, the SASD Choice website is also a way to access the application for democracy prep, and that they do it by phone, they do it by text. You can scan and send stuff in. They work very, very hard to make it accessible for families and make it easy to get your kids enrolled. So, but the best place to learn more about democracy prep at the Stewart Campus and the programs on campus, and like you said, the events, open houses, that's the dpscdemocracyprep.org. So
I would also follow us on Facebook or Instagram. Katie actually helps run a lot of our social media for campus. So you can see some of the things that we've been doing over the past year.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Okay. Well, let's see, Katie, do you have some like closing thoughts about artwork and what you love about being an art teacher and what you hope kids take away from as they learn about art?
Well, I think I just want everyone to remember that, you don't have to be the best. Being the best isn't important, because I'm pretty sure there's someone who's better than me, but being okay is great. You can be an artist and just be okay. And, being creative is, a lifelong thing. You don't just stop because you hit 5th grade or 8th grade or 12th grade. So, you can just keep creating and keep learning.
That is a great message. Keep creating, keep learning. So I hope that the young and old, young and less young people watching this video take that to heart. So thank you, Virginia. Thank you, Katie. And I'll pop that up on the page screen one more time. Democracy Prep at the Stewart Campus. And that website is how you can learn more. So thank you so much and have a great weekend.
You too. Enjoy.
Bye.
Okay, bye.